Well, hello. I want to introduce everyone to my client, Angela. She has made great strides with the program, and I wanted her to share her experience with you. And first of all, I'd love for you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself so they can get to know you like I have.
Okay, sure. My name is Angela. I have two children. They just had their birthday, so 12-year-old and a 5-year-old. So they just started school, doing well. I've been doing this program for about 2 years now. And the whole reason I started the program was because we had an incident with lead poisoning. And so my little boy, when he had his blood test done at a year old, had really high levels of lead. And they told me there's nothing you can do. It'll stay there forever. Their damage is done. And I would not accept that. So I searched and searched, came across saunas, then came across Dr. Wilson, built a sauna, started using it. Noticed that, because I had Dr. Wilson's sauna book, the sauna therapy, noticed the symptoms under sympathetic dominance matched me pretty well. Within being in the sauna a couple minutes, I would be falling asleep. And so the longer I used the sauna, I used it for a couple weeks, maybe about a month or so, I felt awful. I was like, okay, I really do need to do the program to get stuff balanced back out. So I've been doing it for a couple years now, and I love it.
Nice. So what have you done with your son with the lead then?
So with him, I built the sauna a little bit larger so I could put him in it with me. And he would sit in the back so he wouldn't be as warm, but to try to get him to do it. And he did it for about a year or so. Now he won't go anywhere near it. It's too hot for him.
And kids are always hot.
Right. So it's too much for him now. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. But we did get his hair analyzed and put him on some of the vitamins. Within 2 weeks of doing the vitamin regimen, he started to talk. So at the time, he was almost 4 years old. So about 2 weeks before his fourth birthday, he started to speak. Before that, he would be banging his head on the wall and crying and screaming, grunting and groaning, pointing, having emotional fits all the time. He was constipated pretty bad, so that was an issue as well. But within 2 weeks, like I said, he started talking. He's not as emotional. He has regular bowel movements now, and he's no longer banging his head on the wall. In fact, he gets in trouble at school for being silly now. So there's no temper tantrums, which is really nice, and he's just much more happier, I guess.
So now he's just a regular, average, fun kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh boy.
Exactly. All boy.
They're a whole nother species, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
My 4 daughters, it's just jumping to two grandsons and like, oh my gosh.
Completely different.
Whole nother level of
It's fun.
Fantastic. So you've benefited, and we'll get into some of that, but your son has had just enormous changes.
Yes. And we've seen, like on his hair test, lots of lead coming out. Lots of lead, aluminum, nickel, a little bit of mercury. So he's had a lot of things come out. His oxidation rate went from mixed slow up to fast. So I feel like he's where he should be, and he's doing really good.
So did you find the source of where the lead?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it turns out it was in our basement and on the paint on the outside of the home. So the basement is how we really got poisoned. We had a cat at the time, and she'd go into the basement, roll around in the dust, and then come upstairs. So unfortunately, the cat passed, I think, from the lead poisoning. But I think she was a big source of it, bringing it up from the basement. We had no idea. So, but yeah, of all of us, he was the one who was poisoned the worst. His number was very high in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah, he's little. He's on the floor where the dust settles. Ingesting,
Yeah.
They're always sticking their fingers in their mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Everything goes in their mouth.
Naturally, he was just, unfortunately, at the bottom of the level down there, so the kitty. So let's talk about you a little bit. Where did you start on the program? What kind of symptoms were you experiencing?
So I think I was very over emotional. before, very driven. I always seemed to have a ton of energy, but it was because I never stopped moving. I knew if I did, I would crash. I would get in my car to drive to work and almost be falling asleep at the wheel because I was sitting still. So as long as I kept moving, I was fine, but I figured that was a problem. After the lead poisoning, my emotions became very aggressive, almost violent, where I would throw things and lose my temper over spilt milk, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So just very irrational. And the children noticed. They were a little afraid when I would get upset. So I would send them to their room because I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I knew something was wrong. It's almost like being in a car that's out of control, and I could do nothing about it. So I knew I had to do something, and I knew it could be fixed. I spent years trying to do all these different detoxes and not really getting anywhere. But I felt like when I found the nutritional balancing, it just made so much sense. So much sense that I had to try it. I figure I'll do it for 6 months, and if I see a difference, then I'll put my son on it and see if we can't get that lead out. And sure enough, I noticed a difference almost immediately. With the first time I took my vitamins and had my first plate of vegetables, started to feel the detox immediately, the pressure in the lower back, the brain fog, everything got real strong, I guess. So I knew there was detox happening, and that was exciting because I didn't feel like at the time my body was detoxing at all. If I didn't do some type of manual detox, I felt like I was stagnant. Like things just weren't moving right.
A lot of people misconstrued. They think that because they feel cruddy that the supplements or the diet change is making them feel that way. And it's just the reverse. It's actually boosting and enabling your body to get rid of them finally. So what helped you get through the struggles of that retracing and going back and cleaning up all the old garbage that's, loaded up in us? What got you through all of those ups and downs? Because it's very tough. It's like having the flu for a few days, and then you feel like, wow, was that for real? Because I feel really good today. And then the next day you kind of crash again. So what helped you get through that?
Actually getting on Dr. Wilson's website and reading up on all the individual minerals, like specifically iron or mercury or lead, because I could see especially the behavioral components of those articles. I could see that, how it affected me. And so I welcomed all the retracing. I love it because I know it's working, and I always feel better afterwards. So I welcome that because I want to know that it's working.
Right.
But yeah, so just reading and being as knowledgeable about the process as possible has really been helpful for me.
And then you have your scientific backup. So you feel that. A lot of my clients will come to me and say, my doctor doesn't believe my symptoms are real. And they're real. They're in your head, but they're very, very real. And I love the component of the hair analysis because now you get your results back and it tells you, yep, that's exactly what happened. You did dump a lot of aluminum, and you did. So it's really reassuring to know you feel it, but it's on paper too, because it really
Right, because sometimes you're eating all your vegetables and you're taking all these supplements. You're like, is it really working? Is it? So it's definitely working. I love having the hair analysis to see the differences because I start to notice a difference within 4 months. Like recently, when I went into the sympathetic dominance on my last hair test, I felt that. I kept jumping into fight or flight way too easily. And so when you guys changed up the vitamins, that's not happening now. So I feel much calmer. And it's interesting how the body goes through those different steps and those different layers, and how just changing 1 or 2 supplements can make such a difference.
Totally. And we do that on the fly often because you do change and you need different support. It isn't like when you go to see your physician and they give you a prescription. They said, well, we'll see you in a year for your physical. It's like, you have to stay on top of things. And I want people to understand that vitamins and supplements and things like that are medicinal. They're not just a little pill that you take, because it does adjust your sodium and potassium ratio, your cell permeability, how well you're dumping your toxins. I'm curious to know what keeps you on track. What helps you, because those days are so hard, and it's effort. It is effort. And you're a mom with 2 kids and you're working and you're juggling life like the rest of us. So what helps you keep on track?
I think just the knowledge of knowing that things are getting better. I almost feel like a flower that's blossoming. It continuously just keeps getting better and better. And when I think back on the way I used to behave or the way I used to feel about certain situations, it's exciting to me. Or when I'm around other people and I see the way they behave in different situations and how I don't have to react that way anymore. It was almost like it was involuntary sometimes. Just the type of reactions that I would have to situations, so negative, and so I just don't feel like that anymore, and it's really liberating, and there's a freedom to it. I love it.
You have control back.
Yes, I'm driving. I'm not the passenger now.
Right. How big of a factor do you think support is when you go through things like this?
Oh, big, because sometimes you just need to talk about, just to keep talking about what's going on to get to the different layers, because sometimes I'll find myself crying for no reason. And the more I talk about, the more I start retracing back and realize that a lot of these emotional traumas from like childhood that I didn't even think were an issue, but how it has affected me, all the way through adulthood. And it's almost like talking it out helps to realize that, and it helps to heal it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's big. It's big.
Just identifying where it starts. You can attack it, deal with it, and move past it.
Exactly. It's like finally healing it up instead of just burying it and hoping it doesn't come back.
Right. And people deal with that in so many different ways. First of all, they don't even know it exists until they start to detox, and then it comes to light and they're like, wow, I didn't realize that happened, or I suppressed that memory. And sometimes they'll self-medicate, sometimes even with food. And they realize that they've been eating incorrectly because they were stuffing all of those feelings, not even knowing what the feeling was attached to. But it all comes to light when you start to dump everything.
Yeah, it sure does.
It's like taking your purse on the table and you dump it out and go, wow, I didn't realize that happened there. So who would you recommend this program for?
Everybody.
As we see with your little boy all the way up to you.
Yeah, because, I work in a health food store, so I'm around a lot of supplements all the time. And the more I learn about this program, the harder it is to, because people want suggestions. Well, what should I take for this or that? And it's like, I don't know where your sodium or potassium is. I don't know what your thyroid's doing. It's almost like, this isn't that simple. You can't just show up and get a vitamin to fix it. It's like, it can get pretty complicated. But yeah, I tell a lot of people about the program and, pass on the information and hope that, the people who genuinely want to feel better and get better will actually look into it.
Right.
And, see if they can find the answers, because a lot of these people have been to, every doctor there is. And, some people, that's all they want is they just want to keep going to all these doctors and getting all these diagnoses, racked up, but it's not really getting them anywhere.
Right.
And they realize
that. It's difficult. There's a million supplements and they market everything really well. So everyone thinks this is a miracle pill.
Yeah.
That's the miracle pill. There's no miracle pill. It takes us decades to get to the point where we are. And some of us started a train wreck like I did.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to undo all that damage. And if you're going to throw all those pills in there, like you were talking about detoxing, your liver might be so clogged up it can't even process them, so you're wasting your money and your time, and you could be doing harm, like you said. So it gets really difficult.
Yeah, and sometimes if you're taking a bunch of supplements, kind of haphazardly from the store, you don't really know what's working or what's not. You're just throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks.
See how you feel, and like we discussed, you can feel cruddy, but it's actually working. So then you stop taking them and.
Right. So yeah, it really helps to have the hair analysis to see your progress and know that what you're taking is working.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I wanted to bring on your beautiful self so that people can see an average person that looks completely healthy and beautiful. Still, you don't know what's going on underneath, and you can even be healthier and more beautiful after the fact. So Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I hope everyone enjoys learning more about you, and I hope to check in again and see your progress maybe in a few years.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited.
So, you have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.